Wednesday morning. Pastor Rob here. Hey, good to see everybody. I hope everybody's doing good and healthy. I was just reading Matthew 4, Luke 4, or something I've been thinking about all week as we looked at John 21:15 this week. How much do we love Jesus? Do we love him more than these? And I started to think about that. Do we love him more than everything around? Do we, and in the context of that, I was looking at Matthew 4 and Luke 4 when Jesus was tempted after his baptism, before he began his ministry, tempted by Satan directly, face to face. And it just hit me, and maybe this is obvious to all of you, but to me, I was looking at the devil tempting him 3 times, supposedly, probably more than that, probably a lot more, but the 3 main things they look at is he says, if you are the Son of God, by the way, you are the Son of God, make bread and feed yourself. If you are the Son of God, throw yourself down off the temple and become a showman. Show people your miraculous powers as I direct you. And then finally he says, look at the kingdoms of the world. I'll give all these to you if you bow down to me. And I was looking at that, and we've said before, the devil never comes at you ugly. And so all these things are really window dressing. It's smoke and mirrors, because it isn't really about the bread. It's not about the temple and the showman and the lights and the applause and the fame that he might have got by falling off the temple and living. And it's not about the beautiful landscapes and cityscapes that the devil is showing him. You know, if we looked at this, how many of us love to take pictures in front of our city and have the city behind? We've done that many times here in Cincinnati, just how beautiful they really are. But really behind all this, it's smoke and mirrors. It ain't about the bread. It's not about the city. It's not about the fame. The devil is concealing this, and Jesus knows this. He's concealing that behind the bread, behind the fame, behind all the cities that he could give Jesus if he bows down and worships him and doesn't go to the cross, by the way. Behind all that smoke and mirrors is the human race. And that's really what this temptation was about. It's not about the cities. It's not about the authority. It's not about the food, which is temporary, and the fame, which is also temporary. But it's about the human race. He puts these out here as smoke and mirrors. He says, see, these things, I'll give you these things. You can have these things if you just bow down and worship me. But the real secret behind the curtain is the human race, because at this time, and the devil knows and God knew, that we were all sinners. And if Jesus doesn't go to the cross then, and he takes these things in exchange, then we remain in the grip of death, and we remain in the grip of the devil. And when he goes to hell, then he doesn't go alone. He takes the entire human race with him. And specifically, he takes the image of God to hell with him, which is what we represent. And I just really like that, as I read that, and thinking about how much we're to love Christ and to block out all these things that we have and to love him more than these, as he said to Peter in John 21:15. Jesus said, I love you more than these, all these things that the devil offered him. I love you more than that. As a matter of fact, in John 17, it says he left heaven for us. And he said, as he was praying there, that God, glorify me with the glory I had before you, before the world began. It speaks of his eternal existence before time, before the world was formed, that he was in heaven, and he was willing to leave the perfection of heaven to come to earth for us. John 16, talking about returning to the Father after leaving the Father, again speaking of his eternal position where he was before, all that he gave up for us, to find out too that when he goes to the cross, everybody deserts him. When he goes to his hometown, nobody respects him. And then finally he has to go to the cross alone because everybody left him. And actually in Romans 5:8 it says, even while we were still sinning, in the very act of sinning and still sinners, Christ went to the cross for us. Just amazing. Not only did he lay down his life, and he says that in John 15:13, greater love has no man to lay down his life for his friends. That's the ultimate, and we all know that. And I think we're very familiar with the cross, maybe too familiar sometimes. But to really think along the way how many other things Jesus showed us that he gave up for us. He gave up heaven. He gave up the ability to inherit all the kingdoms of the world. If the devil could literally do that or not, I don't know. But behind all those things, the real chip, the real bar of gold that the devil was concealing through deception was the souls of every human being to ever live, to ever be created, to ever exist on this planet. And Jesus knew that. He was seeing through the smoke and mirrors, refused to bow down to the devil, and then he began his ministry. And the devil said in Luke 4:13 that once he had finished these temptations, he had left him until another opportune time. And then we know that he tried to sift Peter, and he entered Judas, and there was many times that the devil tried to come after Jesus Christ. So anyway, I just wanted to look at that this morning. Matthew 4, Luke 4, the temptations of Christ. That although the devil presented a pretty picture, as he does to all of us, there's always an angle, there's always a motive behind his beautiful temptations. By the way, a momentary moment of enjoyment or pleasure or whatever that might be. Behind it is your soul, and behind these things was the soul of the human race, and Jesus knew that. He was not willing to give us up in exchange for all those things. So be encouraged. You've been bought with a price. The Bible says we have a purpose, we have a future. And so if you're in this world feeling worthless today, know that God gave everything. He gave heaven up. He gave everything in the world up. He gave fame and fortune up, all temporary things, but literally gave it all up for each one. He gave his own life up for each one of us. So you have value, you have purpose, you have a future. And so when we consider how much we love God, just try to consider, if we go through the Bible and look at it in a unique way, seeing along on the pathway to the cross what Jesus literally gave up to get there, and how valuable we really are. So anyway, have a great day. Have Bible study tonight at 6 o'clock Wednesday. Everybody have a great week, and we'll see you tonight. If not, see you Sunday morning.